of the view that there ought to be resignations. This disrespect for our intelligence agencies.
Shut the fuck up out there with your car horns.
Is entirely unacceptable. It's an embarrassment. This was a huge mistake. Correct? No.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard were just two of the high-level Trump cabinet members involved in the stunning lapse of national security. These conversations usually happen in a secure setting approved by the government, not Signal. There was confusion over whether or not war plans were discussed. Goldberg says Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth texted them.
Weapon systems and packages and timing and weather in Yemen and all kinds of information about sequencing of particular events.
The White House and Hegseth say that's not true.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
Gabbard today says no classified information was in the chat. She says military targets were discussed.
I believe there was discussion around targets in general.
Any mention of any military unit whatsoever? Mr. Ratcliffe? Not that I recall. Ms. Gabbard?
Not that I recall.
And then President Trump says he will look into the use of Signal by government officials. He says he prefers that they use secure rooms. And then meanwhile, both sides of the aisle are calling for a full investigation to find out exactly what was in those messages. Live in Washington, Perry Russell, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Perry, thank you. More news from the Trump administration. The Transportation Secretary now slamming Governor Kathy Hochul's request for more federal money to help the MTA. Secretary Sean Duffy responded on X a short time ago, calling the request, quote, outrageous, and saying, quoting again, before we make any changes to funding decisions, we'd like to see their plan to make the subway reliable, secure, and clean. The federal government is not a blank check. Coming up at 5, we'll have reaction from MTA Chair Jan Oliver.
2 new lawsuits were filed against the Trump administration today. The plaintiffs are different Columbia University entities, but each argues the president is abusing his authority to suppress free speech. A group of Columbia professors suing Mr. Trump, claiming he unlawfully cut off $400 million in federal funding. They claim that money was used as leverage to exert control over freedom of expression on campus. A second suit filed by a 21-year-old student who was part of last spring's pro-Palestinian demonstrations. Young So Chung is a legal permanent resident who says federal agents searched her apartment. She claims the government is threatening to revoke her immigration status in order to ensure she remains quiet.
Hamdan Bilal, he's the Oscar-winning Palestinian director who was involved in an altercation with Israeli settlers in the West Bank. He's now free. Israeli police detained him overnight on suspicion that he threw stones, damaged property, and endangered security. Bilal was released with conditions, including not contacting other people involved with that incident. Bilal says Jewish settlers came to his village, threw stones, and beat him up, leaving him bloodied and bruised. He was treated for those injuries at a hospital in Hebron.
Prosecutors are charging 2 men with stealing $1.7 million worth of jewelry in a smash and grab robbery in Westchester County. This happened last December, was caught on camera. Prosecutors say Kevin Williams, Byron Wilson used sledgehammers to smash open display cases at a store in Westchester Square Shopping Plaza in Hartsdale. They then shoved jewelry and watches into bags as customers and employees cowered in fear. The 2 men were arrested today in New Jersey.
A man in Nassau County faces charges after taking matters into his own hands when he thought someone was trying to steal his car. 62-year-old David Leary is now charged with criminal possession of a weapon and reckless endangerment, as well as other offenses. Authorities say that on Monday, Leary heard his car alarm going off. They say he saw several people in his driveway, possibly trying to steal his vehicle. He fired his handgun several times. 1 bullet struck his neighbor's fence, 2 others hit his own car. No one was hurt.
A former martial arts instructor faces 42 new sexual abuse charges, including one involving a child under 13 years old. Tyler Leclerc was arraigned early today inside the Dutchess County courtroom. Prosecutors say the incidents occurred between March 2021 and February 2025 and involved 4 different victims. State police initially arrested the 27-year-old last month for allegedly sexually abusing multiple children between the ages of 8 and 13. Kirk worked at one of martial arts' 6 locations, but he is no longer an employee.
Coming up on Eyewitness News First at 4, could these be the final weeks of Floyd Bennett Field? Local leaders racing to find a new operator with his current lease set to expire.
The latest on the tragic death of the son of Yankees legend Brett Gardner. The new twist in the case.
And the doctor who led the team that cared for Pope Francis says the pontiff's medical staff weighed ending his treatment so he could die.
It's your morning catch-up with Eyewitness News this morning.
I guess now's the time to break the bad news about the weather.
Yeah.